everyone, it's Anya here at our Gibbled Home, where I like to share tips for a simple, beautiful, healthy, and sustainable living. In today's video, I am going to show you how I make beetroot pasta. It has a beautiful red, deep red color, and it's just so stunning, and you can make different sauces for it, like a goat cheese sauce or just a cream sauce, or you can add some crab meat to it. So there's a lot of options what you can do with beetroot pasta, but let me show you how to make it. Now, I'll be linking the recipe in the description box below. Today I'm making half of the recipe that I'm linking. The recipe that I'm linking is for about a pound of pasta, but I'm making the half recipe that gives me about half a pound of pasta. So if my ingredients look less than what the recipe says, then you know why. Also, you don't really need this, but I'm using a pasta machine, which I'll also link below where to find it. It is not absolutely critical, but it makes the process really easy. If you don't have one and you don't want to invest in one, they're not very expensive. You can alternatively just use a very simple rolling pin. It's going to be a little bit more work, elbow grease, but it just works as well. You can then cut the pasta, and I'll show you when we get to that step. So let's make this together. And I've also gone ahead and made the beetroot puree, and I have a small mini Cuisinart or KitchenAid, whatever it is, blender, and I just put the steamed beets in here and blended it up. Now what happens is that when you do that, you get a lot of little chunks, and it's not going to turn out into puree. So one trick that I use is I just add the egg. So for my recipe, I'll be using 1 egg. If you want to make the full recipe, 1 pound of pasta, you'll be using 2 eggs. You put the egg in there, and then you puree it, and then you actually end up with puree rather than just individual little beets pieces that won't blend up very nicely. So that's a little trick that I use. I haven't used a handheld blender, one of those little immersion blenders, but maybe you want to let me know in the comments if you've tried to do that and if that was successful. Here's my semolina flour, and I'm actually using that in a higher ratio than the regular all-purpose flour because it gives the finished pasta a little bit of a firmer texture and a little bit more elasticity. So we'll use that and then add our all-purpose flour, salt, and then we'll add the beetroot puree that I had pureed up with the egg, and we'll mix this up a little bit before we add the beet puree. And mix all this up. Now, the amounts that I'm giving you here are not totally exact. You can always add a little bit more flour. You can also leave out the semolina flour and just use all-purpose flour. A lot of people make their pasta without the semolina flour. And if you find that, let's say your beet was bigger than the beet that I've used, and you end up with a wetter pasta, you can always add a little bit more flour, and vice versa. If you find that your pasta is too dry, you can always add a little bit more water. So I'm just going to go and continue mixing this. I have a sense this is just about right, but we want one uniform dough. I think I'll just turn this onto my work surface to be able to work with it a little bit better. Then we'll go ahead and use our hands to knead this up. At this point, I can already feel that my dough is a little wet, which is no problem, because then I'll just add some more flour. Now you can see that this is a much stiffer dough and it gives you beautiful red hands, but no worries, that will all come out. And at this point, I'm just gonna let the dough sit and rest for about 10 minutes. And before I will put the dough through the pasta machine, I'm cutting it in 4 just about almost equal pieces. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. And again, look at this beautiful color here of your beet pasta. Before I put it through the pasta machine, I am adding a lot more flour. And you want to start moving it through your pasta machine on the widest setting. You just feed this through. And it's okay if your pasta dough looks like this. I'm folding it over and then I'm just pressing the little edge here and moving it again through the pasta machine. Now your pasta dough is already a little smoother. And I'm just going to repeat this process. If your dough gets a little sticky, you just add a little bit more flour. Now it feels a little smoother already. I'm just going to do this a few more times. You can also go in a different direction. And already you can tell that the surface is a lot smoother. I'm just going to do it one more time. And there's no hard and fast rule here how often you put it through. I always like to go by feel. If it feels really nice and smooth, then I think it's good on this setting. I'm going to dust it with just a little bit of flour so that when I put the sheets aside, they're not going to stick to the surface. And then you just repeat that with your other pieces of dough. And when you're done with that, we'll move on to the next smallest settings. I'm just going to show you on this one. So I started on the setting 1. Now this is setting 2. If you have kids, they typically love to turn the pasta machine. And I'm turning it the other way around. Oh, my machine is not all that secure. And again, you can see how nice and smooth the pasta dough is, and that's okay if you have flour on there. and then you'll just continue making the pasta machine here, where you're guiding it through, making it smaller, the feeder. And it's always a good idea to give the dough a little bit more dusting of flour. Now, if you don't have a pasta machine and you're using a rolling pin, obviously it's going to be a little bit more work. You have to roll it out, but it can be done. A little bit more flour before I move to the next smallest setting. And again, fold. And move it through. One more time. And I'll make the setting a little bit smaller. Now I'm on the second smallest setting. That may be enough. And here you have this nice smooth pasta sheet. So at this point, you could either cut this pasta sheet in very small, thin stripes that will give you something like fettuccine or linguine, depending on how wide you make them. Or if you have this pasta machine attachment for fettuccine, then you can use that. And I'm just gonna use this right here. This one gives you, I'm not sure, either spaghetti or linguine, and this is fettuccine. So now I have to figure out which way the wheels turn. And here you go, moving it slowly through the feeder. What you end up with is these linguine, beautiful red color. I'm gonna give this just a little bit more flour dusting so that they don't stick together. And set it on a wooden cutting board. And all you do is work your other pieces of dough through the pasta machine, and that's all you need to do. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new on my channel, please hit the subscribe button. I upload new content every week. You can also go to my blog at ourgabledhome.com, where I have more tips and recipes. I really look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for watching.